everybody. Thank you for coming to my channel again. And here to join me today is Mary Jane. Mary Jane has a background, but not limited to, sociology. And I thought it'd be a nice, fun video to ask her to join me and share her thoughts on the paranormal and on what's been going on so far in the world relating to metal bar that's been showing up around the world lately, and on a touch a little bit on Dan Brown books, which when I was looking at the other day are kind of relating to what's going on in the recent news, which kind of freaking me out too. On the first topic, we're gonna start off with. So I watch more than read, but I had read his books before. One of Dan Brown's movies, and it was Infernal. And on this movie, the resume of this was it it centers around a pandemic, and this movie was done, and really the book was done in 2013, and the movie was done around, was it the movie 10 years after publication of 2003's Doubleday. So I do understand that science has been like talking about let's get prepared for the pandemic and all that stuff, but it's just very strange that the way that movie goes is almost too exact of what's been going on recently, and it's kind of creepy.
It is kind of creepy. Let me just back up a little bit, because I don't put on Facebook a lot of what I am. I should, but I didn't. So yes, I'm a sociologist. I have a BA in sociology. I have an MPH in public health. I actually run a provincial cancer registry. Since I live in Toronto, and that's the capital of Ontario, guess which one it is. But I've always had this other life of paranormal experiences, and then becoming a witch. I'm certainly not a professional witch. To me, that's the two don't go together necessarily. I mean, I'm just a witch. So we could talk about that if you want. But as far as Dan Brown goes, as far as any kind of fiction or representation, I think one of the best foretellers of the future really are people who do science fiction. I think they would do a really good job of understanding the undercurrents of where we are. And Dan Brown he's a kind of combination of science fiction and understanding of old legends and doctrine from the Catholic Church, etc. And so, it doesn't surprise me that what he published was in 2003. Also remember that there was a SARS epidemic around about that same time. So that could have been the reason he wrote it. But the point is that we kind of, as a collective, know what's coming. Yeah. And so, I don't want to say that one thing about Dan Brown's novels is true and another thing isn't. I mean, it's kind of like there were a lot of paranormal movies and books that are fiction that I like, but I think they foretell in a general way the currents of the future, because we feel them now. It's just a reverberation. We feel them now, and an artist picks up on that, does his research, and ta-da! You have Dan Brown and his novels.
He's very. I used to, back in the day. When was it when I started reading his books? I think it was 2000. Yeah, that was a little bit before I met my husband. He was back then my boyfriend. And I'm really bad at focusing in books, like to stay focused and reading. But when I started like re-watching them and stuff, I'm like, what a strange coincidence, synchronicity. The only reason I picked this topic is because like everyone else right now, 2020, I too was affected and I got fired. and I might have not gotten the COVID, but I'm not sure because in January that wasn't a it wasn't a thing yet.
Mm.
Well, we here at least for the United States. So I got but in that time that I do receive like dreams, my strongest suit with whatever I have is in dreams. You can either call it prophecy or pregnition, or I can't say the word right.
Precognition,
Yeah.
yes.
Um. So I was dreaming, like I think this was around January or February. I should just pull it up because I think I have it written. In this dream, it was one of the strongest ones, and out of that I knew something was gonna come.
Mm.
Um. The dream starts off with everyone running, and they're going picking up stuff at the stores and the markets. It looks like it, like mall, and it's like chaotic. Like they're running and they're like trying to hurry up. And all I remember is this one dude, and he's like looking at me like, "Hurry up! Like I gotta like move!" Like in a very weird, like that's what I sensed. Then it changed to it's so complicated to say. It's like it's not Victorian. You know how back in the day they would dress like the Salem witches, that
Oh
kind
yeah,
of
sort
dress.
of like almost 18th century with
Yes.
the yeah with
There
the
was,
yeah.
yes, I was all of a sudden in that kind of era, and I was in a cabin place, and one lady comes out, and it's an elder lady. She's like, it looks like a witch. And there's another younger lady, darker skin, that looked like a witch. I just remember in the dream, I couldn't remember how I looked, but I remember them like almost like forcing me towards a long mirror. And in the mirror, I have the drawing. I'll put it up when I edit the video of what it looked like because I studied what all kinds of religion, all kinds of stuff since I was young. Sigil, but it's not an exact sigil anywhere I could find. It's like something I dreamed, and the way the way it's like curved, and it looks like a satanic
Yeah,
sigil.
you should put it up. And, it may be you can't read it because it's off of an alphabetical square and you don't have the square. So you don't know what it says, but you might be able to reconstruct it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was in like almost like a ritual in the dream, and then it was in my blood, and they were like almost not forcing but guiding me to draw it, and then that's the end of the dream. And then and that was in March 1st, that dream, and that's when everything started.
It is. It is. I mean, the way I look at it about precognition is I'm an Aquarius and I don't have that much precognition. I'm not psychic. What happens is these things that they arrive as knowledge. I just know that they're going to happen, or that they're true, um, and they don't go through that filter of uh, seeing a spirit tell me or a dream or anything. They just arrive as true. So in March 1st, I cut my hair. Now, I only cut my hair
Oh, really?
when something horrible happens. I mean, historically, I only cut my hair when something horrible happens. And I cut my hair. It's growing now because I've been home since March, um, doing work at home. But I cut my hair. And I also, let's see, has a thought escaped me? I also knew that I was not going to see anyone again. I just knew it. And, 2 weeks later, we were all gone. I mean, we see each other, Skype, Zoom, whatever. But, I run a gigantic registry. I'd never see these people. But one of the things about this that's so, I think, good, and I think people like Patti Negri might agree with me, Richard Leal, or people who work with energy, is that this is my mouse, so I won't use that one. I'll use the other mouse. It's shaking the box. So we didn't know each other. We didn't know each other. I didn't know about Patti Negri. I didn't. I am an older person. I didn't follow anything online. I had no presence online. Nothing. And what's happened is that it it, it, it's like as if because this has to happen, other things have to happen too to compensate for it. One of the things that has to happen is that people of like mind who are spiritual, who are witches, who have energy that they can transform need to get together. How's that going to happen? Well, it's going to happen because everything else is shut down. So it one compensates for the other. And I do think this has something to do with the age of Aquarius, whatever that means, in
Mm-hmm.
that there's going to have to be a new paradigm about how we get together, um, and who influences whom and who survives even. Um, I belong to a witchcraft tradition, which is a very highfalutin term, but it's just it was I could tell you the history of it if you want, but it doesn't matter. But the point is that we came from the stars. We will go back to the stars. This life here is temporary, but we have to prepare for it. And that witches are, in a sense, not the watchers of old, who are different beings, but we watch humanity. We stay with them, and we'll stay with them till the end, and then we'll go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I believe.
I can agree with you in some of it, yeah, because it's like the year before you could tell. Then people were saying 2019 was kind of bad already, and it's like people were tired of being like so of superficial and so like pictures and makeup and this and all like just material. And I
Hmm.
guess humanity was like already like thirsting for that
It's it's an inevitability.
yeah.
So nature is like that. Nature is cruel. Nature decides that stability is, for some reason that's larger than we can see, not ideal. So it brings war. It brings
Mm-hmm.
pestilence. It brings, whatever. And but it also brings the solution with it. And I honestly think that we probably are the solution. You
Yeah.
know, I mean, Nick's Paranormal Diary, which is transformed into the Paranormal
It's
School.
cool.
I just, I think that things like that, and his is not the only one.
Yeah.
I think the point of it is that you have a world of people who are interested in this, who didn't know each other before and can't connect with their locals. Not that that would necessarily do any good, but you need this worldwide grid of these people,
Yeah.
and this was the way to get it.
I'm actually from another group too. That's funny you say that. I'm from it's called Unite the Collective. And there's this guy that I've been watching for years. It's a group of people, and this is where I get the idea of starseed. And I understand that I don't want to say it's a science. Yes, but it is kind of because we're all like made of stardust. Um, this is where I get my idea of that too, and and it's like we're in preparation for right now. I
Mm-hmm.
think this is it. Hopefully, it all works out for the better of everybody. Um, but I was like meditating on when recently when this all started, the the pandemic, and looking at the word and breaking up the word coronavirus. Uh, corona in Spanish or Latin or whatever you want to say. If you translate it, translates to crown, new crown virus. And my husband is into he understands computers. He's been teaching me a little bit with what I can understand about computers
Mm-hmm.
and PC. And I do understand that a virus in a computer is bad. But what happens when there is a virus in a computer? You have to restart the whole computer. You have to erase everything to start again fresh. So I was thinking about that. I'm like, this could be it. This is like a sign of like, here you guys go. We're restarting. It's up to you guys to start. the right way again. Maybe.
I think so, and I don't want to be like, Debbie Downer, but I mean, I think there's probably more to come.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
because it's caused social chaos in a time when there was a lot of social chaos anyway.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but I do think. Do I think there's a plan, Mary Jane? Do I think there's a plan? I sort of, I sort of do, in the sense of there's a cosmic plan. It's like fractals. It's bigger than you can see, but it actually has a logic to it. Um, and so, as maybe as a species, we don't survive, but the fire inside of us will survive. So if you want to call it spirit, whatever you want to call it, I am not a Buddhist, but it is sort of a Buddhist um, paradigm that all the sparks rise up, to the quintessential being, which is really not a person or God; it's a map. Um, and if that's the way it's going to be, that's the way it's going to be, because eventually that'll happen anyway. The Earth will fall into the sun, and that'll be that. So,
Wow. We got
so
into
where were
even
you?
different things. No,
I know you
yeah, I
had
didn't think
other
of talking
questions.
about that way, and you made me think about that because I was thinking about that because I had no choice. But I think a lot of people. I grew up like this. I'm used to being closed up and like not going anywhere because my dad was very strict. So to me, this hasn't been as bad. But I understand that people are not used to this. So I was thinking this has to be a way for everybody, like for something bigger than us to say, look, wake up, you have a year. I'm gonna give you a year, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Look what's going on. I think that's what's going on right now, and I hope everything turns out for the best. So
Right.
let's change
Next.
topic again. Um, the other one was, and I love UFO stuff too because I have had weird things happen with me, like with UFOs. And recently, now this could be an art project or something, which is cool. They have been finding these metal bars all over the world, and it started in Arizona. And let me pick it up here, open it up. Arizona, Utah, Arizona. It's funny you say Utah too. If I can find the little note.
I know what they look like because I've seen them. I've been watching them because they've turned up on Facebook.
Yeah.
And one of them got pushed over by a group of unpleasant Christians.
Yes.
Sorry. But it was bolted to the ground, which uh,
Let me see if I can.
sounds human to me. But
It does sound human, but you can never know with these things because it is very at
they're widely
how.
dispersed, though. I mean, that's what's mysterious. Is
Yes.
not like just dotted in the Southwest. They're all over the world,
Yeah, they found
right?
one
Yeah.
in Romania, wasn't? They found one in California. It could be somebody getting inspired, like, let me do this too and put it up. But
Mm.
it's like because there's a movie, I think it was the Space Odyssey, and it
It was
starts like that.
2001. It's
Yeah,
2001: The Space Odyssey. Yeah, yeah.
there's a little scene with the monkeys, and it's starting with that one little piece of like technology, whatever that was. I haven't seen the movie right, but I do see. I remember a little bit, and they're like looking at this piece of metal or whatever that is, and it reminds me of that. So I don't know if the artist or
It
whoever.
it is very similar. I think it has. I think there are reference points because 2001. Um, Besides the famous computer HAL, which everybody knows about, which they obviously should have programmed differently. But I mean, the core of it was that there was this, I think, three-sided obelisk that
Yes.
appeared, and it took these apes, and one of the things it taught them was murder. Now, I mean, I have reservations about that, but it taught them, to basically pick up a gazelle thigh bone and hit the other tribe over the head. But it also taught them to be human. That was the whole point of it. And then they go out into space and they find, one of these in a moon of Jupiter, I think, with many adventures in between. And so is this the same thing? I suspect what the point of it is to try and say to humans, other humans, I
Mm.
think, look and see. There's a message about the current times that we want to tell you about. And it is, you have to evolve further. Otherwise, you're all going to die. Um, and then some nice Christians push, I don't know, I
Yeah,
forget
that's
whose
a
feet it
great
was,
message, isn't
pushed it
it?
down and pushed one of them down that was in the United States and put up a plywood cross or something. But yes,
I will
that's what I
add,
think it is.
I am Christian, but I am open minded. So I'm not like
Mm.
that those people are like, well, this isn't the way, this is like you don't know. Even Jesus when he came, he interrupted the way of their thinking. And that's where the New Testament comes from. And they were telling him that he was a blasphemy and all that stuff. Like, and that's why I picked Don Brown's books again because it touches
Well,
on that a little
you are
bit.
correct. I mean, the thing about Jesus is he was disruptive to the 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 Jewish tradition, and he came in a time of trouble where everybody was in trouble with the Romans, including the Jews. Um, and as an avatar, I find that perfectly acceptable. It's the whole machinery of religion that kind of puts me off because it can be very cruel uh, to lots of people,
Yes, even to me,
including their own, right? Yeah.
even to me, yeah, it could get. You know, I've had some, and I hate to say it, but it's true. It's my experience. I've had, as when I started my spiritual journey, when I went to Puerto Rico, I had it rough because they wanted it a certain way, and they were using Christianity as an excuse to tell me what to do because that's the way they perceive it. And I was letting myself being guided by what I started as a spiritual journey because yes, my mom and my grandpa, he was a pastor, and my dad, they're more spiritual. My grandpa was more technically like pastor, but they're more spiritual, so they let me explore that a little bit more because they understand that the spirit is a good way to guide the person. Like they know that's the first thing because to me, in the way I think, I know people are not going to all agree. Religion is man made. Spirit has always been around for years. So, what am I gonna let myself be guided by? You know, I mean, even the King James Bible version is translated by a king because he wanted it to be a certain way. Like, I'm not knocking
No,
Christianity, but
no, no. What you're saying, I think, is that the idea of a God or spiritual presence or an energy that's for good or a higher presence or a higher presence of you, it doesn't, that you're not arguing with how people perceive it. What you're, the problem is that when you turn it into this huge, great machinery,
yeah.
you defeat the original purpose, which was simply to provide a spiritual pathway. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to be that complicated.
No, it doesn't have to be. That's the thing, is most things are really simple. If people just make things insanely complicated, and I can't understand why.
Yeah, not.
You wanted to ask me why I got interested in the
Yes,
paranormal,
thank you.
or, and I didn't know whether you wanted to know like from the beginning or why I was interested in the online paranormal.
Well, both, because
Both.
I think I
Okay.
left that out. It was,
Okay.
well, if you
So
have time, we'll
yes.
take it
Okay.
back.
So let me try and fast talk my way through this. Um, I was probably conceived, and I certainly grew up in a house that was over water. Now, it was a natural spring
Mm.
that someone had turned into a summer house, and it was very old. It was in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, and we were like the third owners past William Penn, who got the land grant from the Crown. Um, so the the house was partially over this large room of water, which just simply welled out of the ground, and then we pumped it up and used it for water in our house. And it also flowed out under the basement, which was kind of the next room over in the basement, out into a creek that went out to our pastures. This was the country back then. It was the country, and I, as a very very tiny baby, slept in the room that was directly over the cistern, and you know cried day and night. I just, you could not console me. Anyway, once I got into a big bed, I was over the part that where the water flowed out of the cistern room under the basement out to the creek. And that was like I was started 4. I probably slept in that room until I was 8, 10, maybe 11. And every night I would have out of the body experiences, which is not that unusual with a child, but mine were different in that I had to either be on my left side or also on my stomach. So it was coming out of the back of my skull, not my solar plexus. But the point is that instead of going up, like most people who have out of the body experiences tend to rise up, it was pulling me down through the walls, down into the basement to the water. And all this is not a bad thing. It was terrifying to me. I, but now I understand that it was the energy of the water was just drawing me into it, because water has a spirit. And my mother joined a group called Para Study when I was 16, right after my father died. And it was an offshoot of one of the Edgar Cayce groups. And they explained to her that you must not build a house over water because it will pull you into it. It's very haunting. It's very dangerous, especially to like old people and to children, because you're they aren't competent to hold themselves within themselves, and they get drawn into it. And all the water was trying to do is just draw me through the stream and go down in its natural way. And I used to go down into the basement and talk to the water. And I didn't make the connection between it, but I would talk continuously to this water. So it was a friend. It wasn't evil, but that's just, and our house was quite, I'm not going to say haunted by ghosts, but odd things would happen. I would see a shadow figure. I would see things that would look like hallucinations, where something would either break apart in my hands, and then I would put it down. I would come back and it was together. Or, I would see something moving out of the wall that looked like a door that wasn't. So these kinds of things just happened in the house because it was built over water and over the aquifer that fed the water. And years later, when I lived in Cornwall in the UK, which I lived in for 8 years, I participated in something called the Dragon Project, where they examined things called ley lines and the structures around holy sites. And a holy site is defined by its power, not by, its godliness, but by its power. And that these things create grids and lines. And that's exactly what was my experience, right? So, and in fact, I dreamed over a holy well in Cornwall and got that, just a huge, great grid, which I can't any longer reproduce, but it was quite beautiful. Anyway, and so why was I interested in, Nick Paranormal or any of this other stuff, is that I'd come to Canada after having run a coven for 7 years and having been in a very strict type of traditionalist witchcraft where it took me 5 years to get to high priestess. So this is a long time. And I came to Canada, with the idea of getting a better job and also of restarting my coven. And that didn't work. And 15 years later, I was like very drained, very tired of my work, very tired of everything. And all of a sudden, COVID hits. And then all of a sudden, I sit there one night watching TV, right? And I see Richard Leal. I see that the whole thing about the Pasadena Ritual House and all of that, Ghost Adventures. And, that connected with the advertisement for the paranormal that Nick did. I said to myself, okay, I understand now where I'm supposed to go. That man was very interesting. This group is very interesting. This is the way forward. And this is the way forward. It is the way forward for all of us.
Yeah.
I
It's
think.
funny that you say, not funny, but that's what a synchronicity that you said that, because I was, and I maybe TMI, maybe too much information, but I was working, and I was feeling the same way, the way you just said. And
Mm,
I don't want to be like too much, but we I had a moment before that dream that I told you earlier,
mm,
that I was saying that to my husband. I'm like, I'm tired of this. I want to find my way. I want to find my what I'm destined to do. I want to do what I'm meant to do. I don't want to be in a 9 to 5. It's like it's draining. It's tiring, and it felt nice because where I was helping others. I wasn't totally negative, but it gets to a point like, no, there's something else for me. I need to find it. And I'm 35. I'm a mom and I'm married, but it's still in me. Like, I have to keep looking. I have to search for it because I there's something more. And I think this year a lot of people were feeling that way, and they got a chance. I'm pretty sure they got a chance. If not, they should take advantage of this year.
that's right.
Um,
That's right.
and touching on what you said about the grid lines, I had an experience like that in Puerto Rico, and I didn't know too much about grid lines. I had moved back with my parents. I was living by myself, and um, one day, I think the second day in sleeping, I put the mattress on the floor, and I told them it's fine, and we'll get it something later. And I didn't realize till later, years later, the house that they were renting, right behind it or almost underneath, was a little river with water.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in my channel, the video. I had an experience where either I thought I was gonna die or something took over me or something, because I was almost like half awake, half asleep, but my eyes weren't open. And I started hearing like a poem or a rhyme, like, and I was about to turn 22, or I turned 22. It started rhyming on the 22nd of the 22nd of your 22nd birthday, and it was in a dark voice. And my voice isn't dark.
Yeah.
And I was hearing myself say that, and it almost sounded like a spell or something. And then, since I don't know any better, I started saying, because it felt as if it was taking me, it felt like you said falling, like it felt
It's
like
taking
a
you into the
weird,
water. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, and I started, because all I know is Archangel Michael. So I'm like, I started
Well,
saying his,
it's not evil. I mean, you have
I
to
know.
understand
I
that
know now.
rivers have souls. You know, everything has a soul. So that's why science doesn't worry me, because it's, you know, human beings are animals. We have souls, but so does everything else. Um, and I
Right.
think
I believe that.
Westerners have forgotten that. We're European Westerners, and but you know, you do have to be careful. And I think as an adult, I would treat water differently. I can see earth energies. I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not real psychic. I don't see ghosts all the time and stuff,
You
but
have your eyes open.
I can see earth energy. Like if I'm down in a basement or I'm near someplace where there's like bedrock, I can see them tumbling along,
That's
just
cool.
little, yeah. And and water energy and air too.
Have you heard, now that you said air, just this is the last thing. I came across my research a while back. Um, this might sound really wild to a lot of people watching, but there is a thing called kinesis or something, where once you spiritually get to the point that you're so connected with nature, and can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, no, I can hear you. I just, my headphones are
Uh,
not great.
once you get connected with nature and earth and Gaia, whatever, you can start. And I've seen this and I felt it, but there's no way to prove it. People can move air to the way they feel like, but it's not their power. It's like you're reaching you're moving your thumb or something. I don't know if it's true. I don't know how true it is, but it, now that you say that, it just reminded me of that for
If
some
you have
reason.
something, send me a link later, because it is interesting. I think air is easier to move. It's much more volatile,
Yeah.
and it's everywhere. But I mean, and I'm an air sign. I'm an Aquarius, so And to me, like, I love being out in the wind, in the
Me too.
storms. You have to like pull me in, like, it's going to lightning. I don't care.
Yeah, I love
Um,
that.
but that's intrinsic to me. So sure.
Yeah, for anybody watching, I'll see if I can find like a few clips and stuff, and I'll link it in the description box below.
Okay.
But thank you, Mary Jane. It was very nice to talk to you. I hope it repeats because you're very wise and you have a lot of information. You're a very smart woman.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it, Maria. I really did. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe.